This Torah class is brought to you by TorahAnytime.com.
Okay, a good Erev Shabbos Rabbi and a Gutten Erev Shabbos Hagadol. And I don't say that tongue-in-cheek, but very seriously. If you look in Siman Taf Lamed and Shulchan Aruch, there is no Kaisaris, there's no title on that Siman. It says in Mechaber, Shabbos Shalifnei HaPesach Koirin Oisai Shabbos Hagadol. The Shabbos before Pesach, we call it the Great Shabbos. Mevnei Hanei Shenasavai, because of the miracle that happened. Now, question, what do you mean we call it? Is that a halacha that you call it that? That's the halacha? The Shabbos before Pesach, you call it Shabbos Hagadol because of the miracle that happened? So what are you supposed to do? Is that a halacha? So I believe when the Ramah comments, the minhag is to say by Mincha, the Haggadah, the Ramah is explaining regarding what do we call it Shabbos Haggadah because of the miracle, regarding the custom that you should say the Haggadah. Otherwise, if you don't say the Haggadah, of what ramification is it that it's Shabbos Haggadah? Just that you call it Shabbos Haggadah? But it seems that according to Mechaber, there's a nafkamina that you call it Shabbos Haggadah. So in our humble sefer, Magador Kiyan Pesach, we bring in a footnote in Maimer Vav that it must be, there's a nafkamina that it's called Shabbos Haggadah. And in fact, the Chida brings down in Machzik Bracha, Siman Taf Lamed, that the Medaktikim, instead of saying Shabbos Shalom Umevarach, Shabbat Shalom Umevarach, they say Shabbat Hagadol Mevarach. Why do they say that? It's a nice thing to say. No, it's a chiyuv. It's a halacha. The Shulchan Aruch says you call it Shabbos Hagadol. Legabe, what do you call it Shabbos? Regarding greeting somebody. And the Kaf HaChaim brings in the halacha. And in the Sefer Teres Chaim of the Psakim of Rabbi Yosef Chaim Sonnenfeld, he brings the derech of Rabbi Yosef Chaim is he was mavarich his friends on the Shabbos for Pesach in the Nusach Gutten Shabbos Hagadol. It's also brought in the Sefer Devir Kodshai in the name of Rabbi Yashiv that on this Shabbos you need to say Agut Shabbos Hagadol. In fact, I have a story over here that in the biography of Rabbi Yashiv in Chelik Beis, page 237, he brings that in Tiferes Bachurim, the minhag was you would greet Shabbos Hagadol, you would say Agut Shabbos Hagadol, Shabbos Hagadol. And they would say this to Rabbi Yashiv, and he would laugh, and he would say back, a good Shabbos Hagadol. So when Rabbi Yashiv was much older, and he was very weak, and he could barely lift his eyes up, and he had difficulty even responding, so when somebody was passing by Rabbi Yashiv and the line, they wished him a Gutten Shabbos Hagadol, and they didn't really think that Rabbi Yashiv heard or paid attention. The next day after Musaf, Rabbi Yashiv was feeling a little better, and the people filed by him, and the same guy said to Rabbi Yashiv, a good Shabbos, and Rabbi Yashiv said back, Unheint is nish Shabbos Hagadol, you know what happened to a Gutten Shabbos Hagadol? Reb Chaim Kanievsky, Zechatzak Levracha, says that he heard from his shver that on Shabbos Hagadol, when you eat, you should not say L'Kovid Shabbos. You say L'Kovid Shabbos Hagadol. It's a halacha. The Shulchan Aruch says, Koirin Oisai Shabbos Hagadol. Now, this week, a friend of mine told me about something in the Yalkut Yosef on Pesach. The only thing is I didn't realize that it was 3 massive volumes. So I had to get all 3 volumes. So Rabbi Yitzchak Yosef has a whole maracha on the inyan of how to greet someone on Shabbos Hagadol. He brings from the Torah and the Shulchan Aruch. They have a whole siman on this subject. And the question is, what is the Mechaber teaching you that the Shabbos before Pesach is called Shabbos Hagadol? So Rabbi Yitzchak Yosef says, L'chayra, what they're telling you, what the Shulchan Aruch is saying, it is correct to remember the miracle that happened. How do you remember the miracle that happened? By saying Shabbos Hagadol Mevayrach or Agut and Shabbos Hagadol, you're being mazkir that a great thing happened on the Shabbos, so it's sort of a way of expressing Shavach v'Hodah for the miracle. The Shas Teshuvah's Beis David brings that the fact that this is brought in the Torah and the Shulchan Aruch means that they usually only bring something which is shaykh l'halacha. So that means there's a halacha that you need to remember the miracle on this particular Shabbos. And in the Sefer Chachma U'Musar of Hagra Antabi, he says, what's the chidush of the Shulchan Aruch? Two chidushim. Number one, that you're allowed to call it Shabbos Hagadol. You might think it's a bizayon for all the other Shabbosos of the year to call it Shabbos Hagadol. What the other Shabbosos are Gutten. And that's number one. And number two, to remember the miracle that happened. Now, interesting, he brings over here that the Sefer Nesivei Am wrote that instead of saying Shabbos Shalom, you say Shabbos Hagadol Shalom, and that is the minhag now in Yerushalayim. And Rabbi Ovadia Yosef in the Chazon Ovadia, he writes that this is a minhag lahamshich, that this minhag should be continued and should be practiced and is correct. Asher machazeh shakai yachazeh. Okay, so here we have it. Now you know what to do on Shabbos. Every bite of cholent that you eat, they just came out, the Art Scroll came out with the Zmiros of Reb Chaim Kanievsky. And in the Zmiros of Reb Chaim Kanievsky, they give you some of the recipes that Rebbetzin Kanievsky used in her cholent that she served Reb Chaim. So I'm sure you're already adopting all of these new chidushim, not only of Reb Chaim, but also of the Rebbetzin. So when you eat the Shabbos and you're mechavein l'shem shamayim l'kavod Shabbos, you'll be able to mekayim the siman and Shulchan Aruch siman taf lamed. You'll be able to eat l'kavod Shabbos Hagadol. Okay, we're gonna have a brief share on tefillah.
You've just experienced another Torah class brought to you by TorahAnytime.com.